Well, we are talking big picture. Some very cold air headed for the U.S. next week is going to create wintry weather and a La Niña update. So La Niña remains kind of complicated this winter. Doesn't look terribly impressive. We actually have warmer than normal waters right now at the surface in the eastern Pacific, but the central Pacific and the western part of the eastern Pacific is in that below normal category. And this is a 60-day loop of some of those sea surface temperature anomalies or difference from normal. Blue and green, of course, being below normal. And so there's a number of factors that play into La Niña conditions, including some of the wind conditions and where convection or thunderstorms remain dominant. So we are in a weak La Niña phase, and it is expected to stay that way for the time being. But as we head into the spring, likelihood of what we call neutral conditions, neither El Nino or La Nina. And so the impacts on winter weather might not be terribly apparent here, but still forecasting above normal precip for the Great Lakes here and parts of the Ohio River Valley here through February, March, April, and a La Nina looking signal in the temperatures. Western Minnesota through the Dakotas, Montana, Pacific Northwest into Western Canada, below normal temperatures. But I am taking a look at summer already because many La Nina years we start to get into some pretty dry conditions for the north central and northwestern U.S. So that's something that we're going to be keeping a close eye on here over the next few months. But the other big story in the more immediate term is some very cold air. In fact, a lobe of some of the coldest air in the hemisphere is coming down into the north central U.S. next week. We've got a split in the cold air. One chunk in Siberia, another chunk here in central and southern Canada, while the Arctic remains very mild here. So these are forecast temperatures at about 4,000 feet above the ground. We take that because it takes out the noise of day and nighttime temperature differences. But for the last 3 days, we've been seeing below normal temperatures in the western U.S., western Canada, and the north central U.S. But look at the Arctic, very, very warm. That means literally the cold air that should be closer to the North Pole has been split apart away from where it should be. We've got two main lobes right now. This is what it should look like, more of a center towards the North Pole, and that's what we get back to in about 10 days or so. But the split is being caused by below normal Arctic sea ice. So I know it seems counterintuitive, but this is a climate change impact. We've been seeing low sea ice. This, in fact, is the lowest sea ice for this time of the year in the Arctic, particularly in these prominent areas. And so right now, mid-February, we are the lowest we've ever recorded in the satellite record going back to 1979 for sea ice. That means more heat being pumped into the atmosphere, and open water absorbs more sunlight than ice-covered water, and there is sun returning to the Arctic now, so it makes an impact. That cold air coming next week is going to push the jet stream to the south. We've seen this play out a couple times this winter. Storms in places that don't typically get it, winter storms, I should say. So we're going to be brightening up the snow pack here across the central U.S. Snow maybe as far south as Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana once again, and then in the more typical spots in the Northeast. So some wintry weather and La Nina all in play.